What's going on, everybody? My name is Mike Montgomery.
And I'm Mike Clifford from Modustrial Maker.
And today we're going to be building this glass fiber reinforced concrete fire pit. And what's amazing about it is this thing totally folds up and is portable. Now, Mike is a little bit of an expert when it comes to GFRC. He's got a lot of videos on his channel about it. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure and check out the links in the description to go check that out. Also, we built these stools together, so make sure and check that video out as well. But for now, let's go ahead and get started on modern builds. Perfect.
The first thing we had to do was make our melamine form, and we had our pieces cut to rough length at Home Depot, so I just trimmed them to size with a circular saw. Here I'm laying out the lines for where the fireplace insert will eventually go, then I drilled a hole in the corner and used the jigsaw to cut that all out. This cut does not need to be perfect, and that's a good thing because jigsaws are not easy to cut super straight lines with. Next, we use the table saw to cut the sides of the forms. These strips are relatively thin, and that's because we're using GFRC concrete, which doesn't need to be very thick to be strong. First, we put in the walls for the fireplace insert and hot glued those in place. Then, we could do the walls around the perimeter of the form too. We used hot glue again to keep everything where we wanted it to be, then ran screws to strengthen everything up. We're going to be sealing all of our seams with silicone caulk, but first we used paste wax to make sure that we had a non-stick surface for that caulk to go onto. That way we could peel away all of our excess and not have it stick to the form. I ran a relatively thick bead and then used what's actually a cake fondant tool to round over all of my silicone beads. There's a really easy way to clean everything up, and I'll have links to all of the products that I used in the description of the video. You can see just how easy that paste wax makes it to remove the excess silicone. And once all of my corners were cleaned up, I came back with a little bit of acetone to remove the wax before we poured the concrete. For our fire pit, we used a pre-mixed GFRC concrete, a scale to weigh everything, and some white pigment.
So this isn't exactly the same concrete that you would buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, at least not yet.
No, it's GFRC mix, which stands for glass fiber reinforced concrete. It's a specialized mix that's going to be stronger than your normal concrete.
And so this is supposed to have no aggregate, super smooth, and be able to be applied really thin?
Yeah, so you're actually going to do two coats. We're going to do a beauty coat that's really thin without any glass fibers. Then we're going to go back and put on a thicker back coat.
The one thing compared to normal concrete with this is that you need to be relatively precise with the water to concrete ratio to get the best results. So what is that with this?
So this mix from Fishstone actually is going to make it really easy because it's one 50-pound bag for 1 gallon or 8.2 pounds of water.
Okay.
And so if you want to do some different ratios, you just get yourself a cheap postage scale from Amazon and you just use that to measure it out on your own. It's actually pretty simple to do.
Awesome, I'm excited. So this stuff is already a pretty white mix. It's not gray like what you would normally expect with Quick Read or anything like that, but we're still going to add pigment because we're going for like ultra white.
Yeah, this is my first time actually trying this. This is just an ultra white pigment we're going to add to it to make it hopefully
awesome
glow.
So this is all kind of an experiment, so links to everything we're using is down in the description. Not sponsored, but hopefully good product that we want to promote.
Yeah,
awesome.
good.
Let's give it a shot.
Like Mike Clifford said, the initial coat is pretty straightforward. First we added pigment, then the concrete mix, and some water, and stirred everything up. You want this to be about the consistency of pancake batter, that way it can go on relatively thin. We applied the first coat by hand, making sure to work it into all of the corners to reduce any kind of cracks or air bubbles, then used a chip brush to smooth everything out and make sure there was no melamine peeking through the concrete. After this coat dried, we added some glass fiber to our mix, as you can see here. It basically bonds everything together and provides a really strong reinforcement for a thin layer of concrete. All of these products are made by a company called Fishstone, who specialize in this stuff, and they'll be linked in the description as well. We let the concrete set for about a day and a half, and then we could remove it from the mold. I was really impressed to see how nice the corners were rounded over because of the silicone, and just how thin that slab was. I've never seen concrete so thin before. Melamine has a little bit of a micro texture to it, and so to remove that, we wet sanded the top and the sides with 400 grit sandpaper. The folding base really is pretty simple. In fact, it's made out of a single 2x12. I just marked out all of my lines and then cut the shape out with a jigsaw. I cut the legs so that when everything folds up, they're out of the way of the fire pit insert. You can see here, I centered the hinges up by eye and marked their outline. Then I got my 18-volt Ryobi palm router and I cut out a recess for the hinges to set on. This way, the legs will fold up flush with the bottom of the concrete slab. This was a pretty deep cut, but I wanted to do it in one pass, so I made sure to move slow and not cut too much at one time. I needed the recess to be as deep as the thickest part of the hinge so that it all sat flush. As you all know, polyacrylic is kind of my go-to finish on light wood, so that's what I used 2 coats of. And to attach the legs to the base, I used some Quikrete 2-part concrete anchoring epoxy. Now this stuff actually mixes in the tube, so as Mike was able to put it on the hinges, everything was mixed up and ready to go. We just pressed it to the concrete and let it cure for a few hours. And while it was curing, Mike was able to put the fire pit insert together. Now, I don't know much about all of this, and he kind of led the project for the majority of the way, so make sure and check out his channel. He's got a ton of GFRC projects on there. Also, links for this will be in the description too. We used clear silicone caulk to adhere the fire pit insert to the base. I wanted a non-permanent adhesive, that way if I ever need to remove the insert, I'll be able to. The whole reason this project is even portable is so that it can fit in the understow compartment of the school bus that I'm converting into a tiny house. Everything just folds out, connects to a propane tank, and is ready to go. And because GFRC has great shock absorption qualities, it should stay together really easily.
It works!
The propane insert worked great and kicked out a ton of heat when it was turned all the way up. And we added some black rocks in there to make everything look a little bit nicer too.
So Mike already left and we totally forgot to record an outro, and wouldn't you guess, it's the one rainy day since I've been here in Joshua Tree. So make sure, if you want to subscribe to his channel, it is Modustrial Maker right here. And if you're not already, make sure and subscribe to mine. You can watch the stool video that we collaborated on right here, and you can see another one of my random videos right here. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Modern Builds.